Hello everyone, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV. As you can see, joined by Mr. Keith Downie, Mr. Sky Sports. You ready this weekend, Keith? For once, for the first time ever in your career following Newcastle United, reporting on Newcastle United, we're going to Wembley.
Yeah, I know. Almost 10 years since I started here. And finally it feels like something tangible, something exciting, something that everyone is just desperate for. I mean, obviously we've been talking about it for weeks now, but this week seems to have kind of dragged on. Been really busy on Sky Sports News, trying to provide some content, interviews, previewing the game, and we've still got a couple of days to go. So yeah, look, it's amazing that Newcastle are finally there. Obviously everything's been tempered a little bit this week with what happened with the goalkeeping situation, but I think Eddie Howe, the players, I think even you guys as fans have probably put that to bed now, and aware that, you know, we've got to deal with it. We've got to make do with what we've got and try and bring this trophy back here to Newcastle. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm actually just really looking forward to seeing the tens of thousands of Newcastle fans down there at Trafalgar Square on the Saturday night, where we'll be broadcasting live on Sky Sports News, and then the following day on Wembley Way. We'll probably pop into Box Park Wembley, where I believe you are, and then the game itself, and it's just going to be amazing to see. It's something that I've wanted to see for a long time, and I just think it's going to be a special moment. Whether I said this to a few fans last week after the Liverpool game, I went to the pub and I spoke to a couple and I said, look, I know you're down about what's happened with the goalkeeping situation, and I can see exactly why. I can see why you're probably thinking this is very Newcastle, why us, why is this? But listen, you need to just go to Wembley, enjoy the weekend, which I'm sure everyone will, and I think you need to look at it and think, well, if we win it, it's a bonus, and just enjoy being back at the top table, enjoy having something like this to enjoy, because there's a generation, maybe two generations of supporters who have never seen Newcastle in a cup final before. And I mean, how old were you in 1999?
Well, exactly, I was 4 something in 1999, 4 or 5 in 1999, so I can't remember it all, wasn't it?
No, you won't. And for you must be pinching yourself thinking this is amazing to go down and enjoy this. And I think it's going to be an amazing sight on the Saturday night, again on the Sunday. And you can only just try and imagine what it would be like if Newcastle came home with the trophy on Monday, and then potentially an open top bus tour afterwards. I can't really find words to describe it at the moment, because everything's happened so fast after the takeover. I think we all thought this would maybe be 4 or 5 years in the making, but to be here so soon and to put that kind of flag in the sand early on within a year and a half would be an amazing achievement. And from someone who grew up supporting Hearts up in Scotland, we hadn't won a trophy in 36 years, and I've been to a number of semi-finals and finals where we would lose to teams in lower divisions, or get to the final and then just not have the guts to get over the line. I knew how that felt, and then when Hearts finally did win the Scottish Cup in 1998 and ended 36 years trophy drought, it was the most amazing feeling. Now, I'm aware that the Newcastle trophy drought goes on a lot longer than 36 years, but if you guys, and I've said this in a couple of other things that I've done, if you win this trophy on Sunday, I'm telling you, whether you go on to win the Premier League or get in the Champions League, and wherever you get in the Champions League, this will be the best moment. When you end a trophy drought that's gone on since 1969, 1955 domestically, this will be the best moment. You will never top that. So that is for me why this weekend has to be an amazing anticipation and excitement for you all.
Is that because we haven't tasted for so long? Is that the first one the sweetest? Because then I guess, like Man City fans, you probably become accustomed to it, don't you?
Absolutely, the first one is the sweetest. I mean, as a Hearts fan, we then went on to beat Hibs, our great rivals, 5-1 in the Scottish Cup final 14 years later. So that's like, I think we hadn't faced them in the Scottish Cup final for 114 years or something, 117 years. That's like Newcastle playing Sunderland in the cup final, and you win 5-1. But I have to say, it was amazing. It still was not as good as that very first one. It wasn't, because it was the first one and it ended the drought, and it was all I could remember was getting beaten finals and semi-finals, and then suddenly there we are lifting the trophy. And if Newcastle are going to do it, they're going to do it the hard way. The Nick Pope situation is you could not make it up. The chain of events that has got Loris Karius in nets on Sunday is incredible. If you take it back to the start of the season when Dubravka was allowed to go out on loan and there was a break put in the contract, and the chain of events was just crazy. So it's a very Newcastle thing to happen, but what a story of redemption it would be if Karius is part of a winning team on Sunday and gets to lift that trophy at Wembley. It'll just be amazing to see. And I can see why some people are saying it's written in the stars. I can also see why others are saying, look, Man United are the better team at the moment. I personally think, and I asked Eddie Howe this the other day when I spoke to him, I think the fact that Newcastle are missing Pope and they've got Karius in goals, I think that compared to Man United playing Barcelona on the Thursday night and only having a couple of days to prepare, I think they're a bit of a leveller. I think there's a bit of a leveller there, and there's going to be at some point Man United playing that Thursday Sunday. I know they beat Leicester last Sunday, but at some point that's going to have to come back and catch them out, and let's hope it's this weekend.
I was saying on the Chronicle podcast this morning that give me the choice of Pope being suspended or Bruno coming back, I would choose Bruno over Pope every day of the week, to be honest with you. And obviously we've been without Bruno. We could have been without Bruno had there been one less Premier League game with that suspension in the semis. So for me, I think Bruno in the middle of the park could be the difference on Sunday. If you were to pick a Newcastle player or a Man United player, who do you think is the one to watch on the weekend?
I'm really looking forward to Bruno being back. I know for a fact he is absolutely desperate to get back involved. I think he's just been like an excited school kid for the last few weeks, looking forward to this game. In a way, I don't think it's a bad thing he's the rest for a couple of weeks, because I think he looked like he probably needed that. Hopefully he's match sharp enough. It'll be really intriguing to see the battle between Bruno and Casemiro in the middle of the park, the two Brazilian midfielders. Casemiro's a great player and Bruno's obviously been superb this season, so really looking forward to seeing that. I think Bruno will be up for it. I think Newcastle could win it there. I also think Almiron's a huge player. I think he's not been great the last couple of weeks, but yes, he scored at Bournemouth, so at least he's got that goal just a couple of weeks ago. But I think him up against Malacia at left back, I think if Almiron's on it on the big occasion, I think he could be a match winner for Newcastle. What I would say with the goalkeeping situation is that, look, it's far from ideal you're playing your third or fourth choice goalkeeper. I've got a little bit of criticism this week by saying he's a fourth choice on Twitter. He is the fourth choice.
He is, I don't know why people are arguing that.
No, if Carl Darlow had not gone out on loan, he would have been in goals on Sunday. And of course you've then got Dubravka and Pope ahead of him. He's a fourth choice goalkeeper. But what I'll say is, you don't get many fourth choice goalkeepers who've played in a Champions League final before. Now, although he had an absolute howler on the day and there was question marks over whether he'd been concussed and all that kind of stuff, he still played games at a very, very high level. Most fourth choice goalkeepers at football clubs are 17-year-old kids. Yeah. So he's actually an experienced goalie who's been there and played at the highest level, albeit having made mistakes. Having spoken to the players earlier on in this week, they don't have any doubt about him playing in goals. Now, I know they have to say that, but I just got an air of confidence from them that they feel like he's in a good place to come into the final. And listen, it's not like Nick Pope's dropped down in training with an injury on Friday and Karius has then got to come in. Yeah, he's had the whole week to work with the players. Now, although he's not been in a game, he's not been playing behind them in a 90 minutes, he's had the whole week to work on things, and that's significantly better than Pope going down with an injury Friday, Saturday, 2 days before the game. So you've got to take little positives in it. I just think, for us as journalists, it's an amazing story that a guy like Karius is coming back and playing in goals. And with him actually being at Newcastle now, I get the impression from little bits and pieces that Eddie said as well that he was signed up again for this situation occurring, because he knew Dubravka was cup tied for the final anyway, and he needed to have someone there. So essentially he's been signed till the end of the season, I think, I get the impression, for this game, in case it happened. And it's happened. Sometimes it's just fate, isn't it? So let's hope that's the case.
I think when we let Darlow go to Hull on deadline day, it looked like you just knew something like this was going to happen. It was typical Newcastle. Whether it be the cup final, probably not that extreme, maybe in the Premier League, but
what I thought, Matty, was really strange about that is Newcastle were unwilling to take the risk with Darlow before that semi. So you'll remember I think Hull chairman came out and did an interview and said Darlow's signed, but the paperwork hasn't just been completed yet. So they wanted to keep Darlow on the bench for that semi-final. And then the minute that game ended, he went into the bowels of the stadium, finalised the deal, and I spoke to him as he left the stadium, and he's like, yeah, that's me going on loan to Hull at the end of the season.
Which again proves that Karius was fourth choice, otherwise he would have been on the bench for the semi.
I know. So, yeah. And so what I felt with Newcastle is they didn't take the risk for the semi. They wanted to keep him there alongside Karius. So they had Pope, Karius and Darlow for the semi, and only once they got through the semi and got the place at Wembley did they allow Darlow to go that evening. The paperwork was completed, deal sheet was handed in, he went through with minutes to spare. But you've then got to think, hang on, you've still got 3 weeks until the final, 4 weeks until the final. So I just feel that they didn't take a risk before the semi, but then took a risk in the 3 weeks after that, thinking Pope's going to be okay. And the timing of it, the game before the final, it was you couldn't make it up. So they've taken a bit of a risk there. It's come back to bite them. But I'll repeat myself. What a experienced guy to come in. I know he's made mistakes before, but this is someone who's played at the highest level, and if you are going to have a fourth choice goalkeeper to come in, you're not really going to get much better fourth choice goalkeeper than that. And this isn't like a 40-year-old who's finished and he's 29-year-old, he's still in the peak of his powers, and let's hope he's got a point to prove.
You've been helping Eddie Howe walk his dog this week, and Keith through the town with us. Some great footage on Sky Sports coming out with that. What was your, obviously people can view that interview when it comes out, but what was your overall feeling talking to Eddie off camera and stuff? Like, do you sense any nerves amongst him, amongst the group, or is everyone buzzing for it?
I couldn't believe how relaxed he was. Now obviously it was a couple of days ago, and I think he got what they wanted to do is they wanted to get all the media done and out the way by end of play on Tuesday, to give themselves the rest of the week to just concentrate the team purely on the game.
Is there no usual Friday press conference? No, that's it.
No, everything done on Tuesday. So they wanted everything done, media out the way, so that they then had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to prepare for the game, and then they're flying down on Saturday. They're not going down, quite often before cup finals. Teams go away to Spain for a couple of days or do this. They're like, no, we want to keep things as normal as possible, but get all the media done and dusted. And listen, I understand it. I think it's good, and I think it concentrates the minds and means players aren't doing interviews anywhere on the Thursday, Friday, a couple of days before the game. And I think it's good. I think it's a long week. They've plenty time to work with the players, which again is good with the Carey situation. But I just got an air of relaxation about him. I mean, we're walking his dogs through the town moor, and he was chirpy, chatty, like really relaxed. And then the players I spoke to, we spoke to both Dan Burn and Sean Longstaff, and you could just see what this week means to them. Sean Longstaff sat down for the interview and he did not stop smiling from the start to the end. And you don't often say that about Sean Longstaff, but I think it was just because he knew what was coming. He's got 25 family and friends going with tickets, and he said a load more who don't have tickets. Dan Burns similar, and I think they just know. Dan Burns had a really nice line to me. Sorry, Sean Longstaff actually had a nice line to me where he said, look, we know that the fans work hard every day to be able to afford their tickets to go to the stadium, watch Newcastle play at the weekend, and we know what it means to them, and we need to make sure we give everything back to them this weekend. And they're trying to keep themselves on social media, trying not enter too many of the Wembley group chats, trying to keep things switched off. I just got a feel of, I wouldn't say confidence because they're playing a good team, but I just feel everyone's relaxed because they feel like the final's just going to take care of itself now. So Trippier, Byrne, Longstaff were all up to speak. It was initially supposed to be Pope, but Longy came in for Pope instead. And I've got to say, there was just an air of relaxation, albeit it was Tuesday, so there was a bit of time to go. And as Dan Burns said, he goes, I'm sure that'll change when I'm walking out the tunnel at Wembley and I see 35,000 Newcastle fans. He goes, I'll probably tear up. But I think these guys are professional enough, and we've seen it already this season, for them to put everything into the game. And listen, cup finals are a one-off game. I know Manchester United have been great of late, but Newcastle were great earlier on in the season, and sometimes it just takes something to click early on in a game for the form to come back, and let's hope it's in the final. I
think a big thing is obviously Manchester United playing tonight against Barcelona, a massive game for them to get through in the Europa League. With a bit of fatigue, Newcastle have to come flying out of the blocks, don't we? We know war flags are going to be there. They're going to try and make it feel like home, aren't they, for the players with the black and white sea and all the flags. And do you think the 12th man could play a part at Wembley?
Absolutely. I mean, you can bet your bottom dollar that the Newcastle fans will be louder than the Man United fans at Wembley, inside and outside the stadium. I cannot wait to see the colour. I cannot wait to hear the noise when the players come out the tunnel, and I just hope they kind of keep the game going. In terms of formation, in terms of selection, I expect him to try and go back to the tried and tested sort of before Christmas. I think he'll want to play Joe Linton as one of the front three, with Joe Willock in midfield if he makes it. I think that's what he'll try and do, and try and keep it 0-0 or 1-1 or 1-0 up. I think he'll try and keep it and then bring on your St Maximins or your Isaks later on in the game. I think that's probably what he'll try and do.
Do you think Wilson will start, do you?
Honestly, I think it's a real toss-up between him and Isak. I really do. But I think if Wilson's fit, I think he'll start. Because I think Isak looks like he probably has a bit more off the bench. And I just think Eddie Howe will put in his tried and trusted and guys who've been over the course with him before, of course, which Wilson has. I think that'll be his toughest decision, who he plays through the middle. I feel the last couple of games, I'm not sure if Isak's taken his chance starting. I'm not sure if he's done enough to warrant us. But then on the flip side of that, I'm thinking, look at Wembley. Wembley, massive pitch, wide open spaces, his pace over the top, and that's something he could think of. But I think if Wilson is 100% and ready to go, I think Wilson will probably get the nod, and I think Isak could come off the bench after an hour and be Man United might be tiring by then after the game tonight. And I think imagine you're Man United and you turn around and you've got Isak and St Maximin coming off the bench after an hour, like we saw at Southampton, terrorised them towards the end. You know, these guys could be game changers. I'd be surprised if St Maximin starts. I actually, big comment here, but I think if Willock doesn't make the starting lineup, I think there's a chance that they might even go Jacob Murphy instead of St Maximin.
Wow.
Honestly, I just
for the defensive capabilities.
Yeah, I just think for a game like this, I don't think he's going to want to leave it open. And I think to play St Maximin, he would need to play that 4-2-3-1 again. And I just think he'll want to play the 4-3-3, and I think Murphy can play that. I know he's not played in a while, and it might be an outlandish statement from me, but I just think that at this moment in time, and as good as St Maximin was against Liverpool last week, and he is a big game player, I don't know if he's better coming off the bench. But then as I'm saying that, and I'm talking to you right now, I'm thinking he was great against Liverpool last weekend, wasn't he?
He was.
And this is the kind of game that he would be right. And I think that performance he put in is because he knew there was a cup final around the corner. So I don't know, but I think the ideal scenario would be if Willock's okay to play, Willock comes back into that midfield alongside Longstaff and Bruno, and then you can have a front three of Almiron, Wilson or Isak, probably Wilson, and then Joe Linton, because Joe Linton gives you that defensive solidity as well, and it'll make sure that Dan Burn's not isolated up against whether it's Sancho or whoever it is that's playing wide on the right hand side. But yeah, just going back to what you were saying about the fans, it's going to be amazing. I mean, I am actually really looking forward to seeing Wembley way more than anything. Like just seeing the craziness and the fans turning up and
Trafalgar Square Saturday night.
It'll be carnage. I mean, I just said to my producers at Sky there, because we're going to be doing some lives there. I said, I said, you have got security for us, have you? Like, what's our guy called the security guy? That's not only Reggie needs to be there.
Oh, we need 10 Reggies.
We will. You're just taking the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that it'll be mental. But you know what? It's time to enjoy the moment. And I think you guys have been in the doldrums for so long, and you haven't enjoyed football, a lot of people haven't enjoyed life because the football team's been struggling, and I just think it's a moment to savour, and don't get yourselves too nervous or worried about the game. I spoke to quite a few fans who are like absolutely bricking themselves about the game, and don't be, just let it take care of itself. Enjoy the weekend, whether you're going with your family, your friends, make sure it's a weekend to remember. This isn't just going down to the game and back again, this is a whole weekend. It's like a stag do. It's like a stag do at Wembley, you know.
Anyhow, stag do.
Yeah.
Right then, Keith, before we sign off then, it's getting cold here, so it's already getting dark. Prediction.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on a prediction on the spot. Cup final, can Newcastle win it?
Of course you can win it. Of course you can win it. There's no, I mean, it's I've seen huge surprises in cup finals with a bigger differential between the two teams. I've watched Kilmarnock beat Celtic in a cup final 1-0.
Wigan.
Yeah. There's been loads of, you know, situations like that in the past. Of course Newcastle can win it. They need to turn up on the day though. I think they need Bruno at their best. I've said already, Almiron at best. You need Karius to link up with the defenders well and be solid. You need the defence to have a high line. You can't have them, you know, retreating back, trying to protect the goalkeeper. They need to have confidence in him. And I think if he gets an early touch and an early save, he could go on to have a great game. You don't want him to make a mistake early doors, because then his head's gone, and that's the last scenario. Listen, my head, honestly, my head says Man United, just with the way they're playing right now. Yeah. But then I'm thinking, hang on, they're playing on a Thursday night. They played on Thursday night last week. As I said already, that at some point that has to catch up with you. At some point, the Thursday Sunday tiredness has to catch up with you. Newcastle is a real advantage they've got the whole week, I think. But my head says Man United because Rashford's playing so well, and they've got Casemiro, and it looks like Sancho's coming in a bit of form. But obviously my heart says Newcastle, and like, I would love nothing more than, you know, open top bus coming down Barrack Road here, and whether it's Monday, Tuesday night, I think it's Tuesday night, and coming down through the city, it'll just be an amazing thing. It'll almost be like reporting covering Newcastle United completed. Like, it'll almost be like, that's it done. Where'd you go from here? And for you guys as fans, it'll probably feel a bit like that as well. It'll be an amazing scene. I think it'll be tight. I think maybe one goal will do it. Might go to extra time. I can't see like anyone winning 3-0 or anything like that. And I don't see like a 6-goal thriller. I think it will be tight, because I think both teams will try and make it like that. you know, and if you had to, if it was life or death and you said to pick one or the other, I would probably pick Man United. But then I also think Newcastle are probably a bit more comfortable being the underdog as well when it's not expected. Like, you probably feel after what happened last week with Carabao, you're probably feeling a bit better, probably feeling a bit more relaxed about things now. Whereas if you had this full starting 11 out, it might be a little bit like, oh God, we've got, it's 50-50 here.
Exactly, that's a big turn, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was 50-50 to be honest with you, especially with Man United playing. But now with Pope being out, Man United clear favourites, and we'll see how it turns out in the day.
You looking forward to it?
I'm absolutely buzzing, but I'm nervous as well.
Have you got a ticket?
Might do. Can't see any more on that anymore.
I think Matty paid a couple of quid for a ticket.
A couple of quid.
He's obviously earning too much money from this YouTube.
So make sure you like the video, subscribe and all that. We need as much as we can get this weekend. Right, cheers for your time, Keith. Look forward to seeing you over the weekend. Nice one, everyone. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to the Magpie Channel TV, and I'll see you on the next one.